Bills Mafia, welcome back to the Stray Buffalo podcast. Hope you all are doing well. And this is an episode 3 review of Hard Knocks. We're going to get right into it. This episode, I usually do a breakdown. I'll go into some of my favorite moments, but I also just got to talk about how the Bills did against the Chicago Bears. It's a big topic to talk about, something to be focused on. And I have a lot of different thoughts after this preseason game. So we'll start out with the episode, though. I think one thing they really focused on was the idea of Sean McDermott and his mindset. You can tell that Sean McDermott wants this team to be playing at a higher level. He wants it really bad. You can tell that within the game or within the episode, and you can feel the team really buying into that. And even though I know the Chicago Bears preseason game didn't go well, I do think that this team is bought into Sean McDermott. He goes on to say that you can feel a team when they're ready to attack on offense. And I loved the quote when he says, "You're good one year, but it does not guarantee that you are good the next year." So it's interesting to see how the Bills are going to respond to that in the final preseason game. I also found it interesting to see Joe Brady using the footage from the first big game, and it really just showed the planning that goes into the roster and getting everyone up to speed. Preseason isn't the most exciting. You obviously can only take it with a grain of salt. But I think what's been really cool with Hard Knocks is seeing how it's evolved and really been a source of not only entertainment but information when it comes to how this team's going to perform in the future. Regarding the James Cook situation, that was big news. You could just tell when Brandon Beane's assistant came in and he said the deal was done. You could tell how relieved they were. Brandon had mentioned they were up till 11 at night. Like, that is wild. It is insane that they were up that long working on this. You could tell that he really wanted to get it done. And they had the behind the scenes of James signing the contract, and when he was done, how he went up to Brandon and thanked him, and he made sure to go thank Sean too. Like, I know James has respect for them. I don't agree with how he went about this process, but at the same time, it feels like he's just like ready to play ball, and I think he's going to have a good year this year. We go on to see how we're going to see how they were saying like James better pay for some dinners in Chicago, which I loved. They showcased Ed Oliver and those horses. And Sean went on in the episode saying how they don't care what the status is for people on the team last year, how they did last year. It's all about this year and what you can prove out and work out this year. So that was great to see. This was a cool episode for me. I live outside of Chicago. I live in Naperville. So to be able to see the Bills come to the Bears, I didn't get to go to the preseason game. Kind of glad I didn't end up spending that money. It was actually my birthday weekend. Had some plans for the birthday. It did not include the preseason game. Josh didn't play either. So I would have loved to have gone, obviously, but other things took me away. But seeing such great shots of the city, I love Chicago. I love living outside of it, visiting it. It is one of my favorite cities. It's why I live out here for work. And to see the city highlighted and showcase was really cool. It was cool to see Ben Johnson and Sean McDermott. People in the Bears Nation, the Bears. Is that Bear Down, Bear Pack, Bear? I don't know what the fan base is called out here. But everyone's excited for Ben Johnson. They should be. The dude is an offensive wizard. Caleb looked really great in that preseason game. There was a lot of great things. Even the backup, Ty Badgent, I believe his name is. Did they just signed him for another 2 years? He looked really good. Bears fans should be very excited for this year. As living outside of Chicago, I and my girlfriend's family they're all Bears fans, so I get to chat with them. Everyone's excited with Ben Johnson coming in, with how Caleb looked in the preseason. Obviously, it is only preseason, but I do think that there's lots to go into there. Um, and I think, I want to give my perspective on the preseason game because I watched some of it. Kind of was a little bit of painful to watch, so I didn't actually watch all of it. I was like, you know what, this is getting pretty sad. And it wasn't like trust me, I'm a glutton for punishment when it comes to the Bills. I can watch games where we're getting beat, but we're just bad. This was different. This was that idea that they just felt sluggish and that they felt like it just didn't feel like anyone really cared. It felt like they were demoralized. And I want to point to that, not to rag on the team, but to say that I think that's why Josh Allen is such an important player for the Bills. You can just tell the difference on how players play when he's not out there. Josh is the type of guy that I feel like the energy he brings wills players to be better, to play to their to that next level. So when I watched the preseason game, I actually was really interested. That initial kickoff, I remember thinking to myself, "Wow, like they got to him fast. The Bears are backed up. Let's see what they do." But obviously Caleb went out there and did what he did, and it wasn't against our first string besides Damar Hamlin, which I have no idea about. Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely was an embarrassing showing, even though we weren't playing our starters. Like, you never want to lose 38 to nothing. I will say, to the Bears fans in my life and elsewhere, Josh wasn't on the field. Things would have been a lot different if he was, and if the rest of our starters were. That being said, before I get more into the Bills, really happy for Bears fans. I think I'm hoping that you all have a good year. I'm hoping you have a winning record. I think Ben Johnson is going to take things to the next level. But we'll see when the season starts. I loved that there was a quote from Dion in the episode where it was like they know that if we were out there things would be different, and I do think things would be different, but that is the preseason, and I've seen a lot of overreactions too, and I think the best reaction, or the most important thing you need to take away from the preseason game, in my opinion, is the issue at safety has been something that has hampered our team. It has been something that has caused our team to have issues. It has cost us games. It has cost us important moments in the playoffs. So the fact that we are having issues at safety is extremely concerning. Cole Bishop, not looking great. Damar Hamlin, I love Damar's story. Obviously, what he went through, what the Bills organization went through with him, like, and I, it's not obviously like he's such an integral part of the Bills community and the Buffalo community. Not looking great this year. Has not looked great in it for a minute. He comes up with plays, but he's just not the strongest at that position. Uh, Hancock had is showing uh I guess we're seeing some optimism with Hancock, but it just depends on how everything shakes up and where he lands as well. So all that to be said, safety is an issue, and I really don't know. Um, what to make of it. They could try signing another player. The cap is very tight, as we know. Also, they could try trading, which I have a gut feeling that Bean is going to trade for a solid safety. That is my prediction. I think Bean is going to make a trade to get a solid safety. I don't think they're going to get like an all-star safety. I don't think they're going to get someone that's like super crazy. But I thought about this, and I was talking about this actually with my uncle the other day. It's like, man, if we just had Hyde and Poyer in their prime, I know it's just like wishful thinking, but we took for granted how good those two were. And then to not have that you see the effects of it. So we got to figure safety out. It's definitely something I am worried about going into this season, but it's something that we really need to, keep an eye on. Beyond that, I think some other things that I took away from the preseason game is the backup quarterback. I mean, again, you see why Josh Allen is who he is. Mike White, some rough throws, some rough decision making, just getting killed on a sack. Mitch Trubisky, solid number two. I think Mitch Trubisky is probably the best one. I think he's our backup. Um, yeah, it was just a rough day. And then Frank Gore Jr., I mean, he's a guy that I really like. He's someone that I think has potential, has talent, but at the same time, that fumble just cost him in the red zone. It's just like you cannot make those plays. So I think what worries me going into this year is the fact that it doesn't seem like we have a lot of great depth, which is crazy because the organization, how good it is, it's like you would think we'd have more depth on, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Like Hoyt looks great, but he's not going to be there for 6 games. But if you look at our schedule, I mean, beyond the Ravens, do we really need him until then? So like, I think Hoyt's going to have some impact when he's off of suspension. But yeah, we need more depth on defense. If a starter goes down this year, it's going to be extremely difficult. Again, we got to make it happen this year. Josh is 29. He'll be 30 next year. Last season in Highmark, we're better than last year. We got a group of guys that are talented. Go win the damn thing. Go win the Super Bowl. Um, my overall review of Hard Knocks, episode 3 is probably the weakest for me. I feel like there was a lot of filler. If it didn't feel as succinct as the other two. I definitely enjoyed the episode, but and then it ended on such a negative note. But cuts are already happening. I mean, the Bills cut Caden Davis. More are going to be coming, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out. And really, it's made me really interested to see how the Bills game is going to go. The last preseason game is going to go because there's a lot going on within the Bills organization. So yeah, it. It's gonna be interesting. Joe Biscaglia, 3 hours ago, put out a great article on The Athletic, and I wanted to read you some. I was reading through it tonight. on this Wednesday night. And it regards the press conference Sean McDermott had Tuesday. So basically, teams must be at or under 53 players on their active roster by August 26th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Quote, after hearing what McDermott said and taking in what is likely to be their two most intense practices of the week, along with other news and notes, several things stand out from this week. And he goes on to say how Cole Bishop gets a wake up call, how the wide receiver room was drawing focus, and just the overall just. So he goes on to say, was McDermott issuing a warning to Bishop? Quote, one position that seemed to draw massive reaction in the game against the Chicago Bears was the Bills' safeties. Bishop was seen on the broadcast being a bit late on one catch over the middle to Bears tight end Colston Loveland, then getting beat by wide receiver Olamide Zacchaeus for a 36-yard touchdown. McDermott quoted saying, I think we're looking for that other safety to play alongside Taylor Rapp, who has not been consistently available. He's dealt with some injuries himself. Quote, there's been really good moments for all those guys back there, young and some of the more veteran guys that are back there to play for us. But I think we're still looking to find who is it going to be and how consistent can they become and how quickly can they grow if they're a younger player. And then about Cole, McDermott said, I really feel like Cole, from the time he's come back, it's just been a short runway to this point. He continues to improve. He has shown to this point that the ability, the skill level can be there. We're just not there yet. And so his refining process, if you will, goes one day at a time, one rep at a time. We're just kind of getting started because of what wasn't with his availability. Again, it affects that. But they go on to say, there has to be accountability with the linebackers as well. And basically how McDermott was focused on just, saying you need to step it up. Next up, Joe goes into with Curtis Samuel healthy, how are things trending at wide receiver? They feel good about their top three. So Khalil Shakir is a known commodity as a slot receiver. Joe, as they say in the article, quote, Keon Coleman has made some good progress throughout the summer. He actually had a great practice today. Buffalo Plus podcast covered that, which was cool to see. One of my favorite podcasts. And then Joshua Palmer has been really really well with the Bills. Quoting McDermott, once you kind of get after that third person there, it's trying to figure out who the rest of them are and how they can help us. Not only on offense, but on special teams, and how we can ensure if we have someone, knock on wood, going down, that we have the right person, profile, size, speed, whatever it is, to make sure we don't drop too far with that next spot. So it's going to be interesting to see Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel, Tyrell Shavers, who's had some great moves, Christian Wilkerson, and Laviska Shenault Jr. They're all playing for one of two spots, and there's potentially a third spot with their special teams picture. So there is some good talent at wide receiver, which is, if you would have thought back a year ago, a good problem to have. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Then lastly, a subtle hint that Allen won't play Saturday. So the Bills haven't declared whether Allen will play against the Buccaneers, but it would be more of a surprise if he did, given the proximity to the season. He didn't play against the Giants or the Bears in the first 2 weeks, and if a clue from Allen is to be believed, that could extend the entire preseason. And he goes, conditioning. We did some before this last game, and I'm sure we'll do some in Tampa. Game reps, it's a lot different. The amount of exhaustion that happens during a game, you can't really rep it. So just making sure that I'm as in control of that as possible, making sure I'm getting extra reps at conditioning. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't think Allen's going to play either, and I am very interested to see this final preseason game. Athletic had also this other interesting thing. It was the NFL projection model, AFC win totals. The model sees the Bills as the AFC favorites, with Ravens second and the Chiefs third. So it has the Bills averaging 11.2 wins with an 87.7% playoff percentage. So when you actually look at data and stats, we're actually the best team, but when you look at the weird media narratives that we have to have, we're not that good. Oddly enough, they have the Bengals after the Chiefs, so it goes Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals, Broncos, Texans, Steelers, Chargers, and then Patriots with 8.4 wins. They see the AFC East, obviously the Bills owning it, with then the Patriots coming right after. It's a really cool read. I would definitely suggest checking it out if you have access to it, to the Athletic. And then this one last thing that I liked was Joe Biscaglia as a stock report. So they had who's up, who's down, risers, Tyrell Shavers. I think he's got to make the roster. He's talented, doing well. Mitch Trubisky was up, defensive back Jordan Hancock was up, and then Laviska Shenault as well. I think he'd be a great special teams guy. Bill safety depth, obviously falling. Ryan Vandermark, back-to-back false start penalties. You cannot have that, Ryan. Come on. And then Brandon Codrington, kick return, was down as well, along with defensive tackle Dwayne Carter. That being said, I wanted to spend a moment to go through the Buffalo Bills schedule and give a prediction. I spent some time over this weekend looking at it, and while it's easy for me to say we will go undefeated, I do think there are some holes, or I do think there are some upsets. So, that being said, I will say I think the Bills' schedule is actually very favorable this year. Not to discount any teams, I'm sure there'll be one or two that surprises us, but I think we actually have a very, very solid schedule in our favor. So, first off, though, we start with the behemoth, the Sunday night game, September 7th, Ravens versus Bills. I see the Bills squeaking this out. I could also see the Ravens winning this, though. And in the fairness of keeping the schedule honest, I will give the Ravens this game. I feel like they have a lot to play for after we beat them in the playoffs. And then if we have to face them in the playoffs again, I don't want it to be, oh, we have to beat them again. So I'll give the Ravens this one. I do think the Bills can win it, but we'll go 0-1 to start the year. We then go to the Jets, 1-1. We then go to the Dolphins, 2-1. We then go to the Saints. I say go to the Saints, to the game. We're not traveling all these games. We then have the Saints. It's 3-1. The Patriots. I'm going to give the Patriots one win this year, merely on the fact that I think they're going to be the second best team in the AFC East. So we'll go 3-2. Falcons 4-2. Panthers 5-2. Chiefs, we beat them every year in the regular season, 6-2. Dolphins 7-2. Buccaneers 8-2. Texans 9-2. Revenge game for last year's weird flop. Steelers 10-2. Bengals 11-2. Patriots 12-2. Browns 13-2. Eagles 14-2. Kidding. I actually think it's going to be 13-3 on that one. I do think that's our other loss, and the Jets are going to make us 14-3. 17 games. I predict our record is going to be 14-3. 14 wins, 3 losses. Those losses coming from the Ravens and the Eagles and possibly the possibly the Patriots. I would swap out maybe the Patriots for the Chiefs. And you might be thinking, wow, so we're going to lose against all those other good teams. No, I actually think we have a chance of beating the Ravens and the Chiefs and the Eagles. But just if I were to pick where those losses could come, it would be those 3 teams because they're the best teams, some of the best teams in the league along with us. But I do think we'll be a 14-3 team. I do think that. I could see 15-2, and then there's the fan of me that says let's just go undefeated, win it all, win the playoffs, win the Super Bowl, be the first team ever to go undefeated in a while, and it'll be good. But a boy can dream. A boy from Buffalo can dream. It's a farewell season, so we gotta win. We gotta win this thing this year. Damn it. But yeah, all that to be said, Bills Mafia. It's preseason. Calm down. Calm down. Everything is fine. Everything's gonna be great. I am excited for this year. Josh, McDermott, everyone's ready. You could tell. I also found it interesting how, like, you just tell, like, Josh was getting into it. And obviously, you don't want to see your teammates lose, but you could just tell, like, Josh is ready. He's like, he just looks ready. He looks really great, like, like in great shape. And I think he's going to have a good time. So it'll be interesting to see. Um, but also beyond that, yeah, I think overall this is an interesting time of the year. I'm ready for the season to get started. We're not going to see Josh play in the preseason. I think safety is the biggest question mark. I do think Bean is going to make a move before the season or early in the season because and I don't know, maybe there's going to be a moment in the Ravens game where we get burned at safety, lose the game, and then Bean makes that move. I think about the move we made to Amari Cooper last year to kind of get things moving again. So, all that to be said, we have 2 more episodes of Hard Knocks, and I am not looking forward to next week's because there will be a lot of cuts next week. Like I said, Davis, the kicker, already got cut. More are going to be coming. It's going to be rough. And yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is to see people that have put their heart and soul and everything into trying to make the NFL and get cut is hard to watch. And Bean, he was on, I think he was on the Pat McAfee show where he was like, I don't want cameras in the room when players are getting cut. So maybe we'll see that. Maybe we won't. I don't need to see that. But they are going to cover it and it's going to suck to see. But I think overall, what I've seen in Hard Knocks is that this is a cohesive group. Josh is a great leader. They're a positive team. They have a positive mentality. They're hungry. They want to work. And again, we can't overreact to the Chicago preseason loss. Bears fans, I love you. If Josh was out there with our starters, we would have smoked you guys. No offense. But that being said, you all have a lot to look forward to. But also that being said, it's the preseason. And for Bills Mafia, we need to relax. I know it's good for people to be like, oh my gosh, 38-0. We couldn't even score. Dermott's lost the team, blah, 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 blah. No, you saw who was out there. You saw, and not to take away from those guys, but they're not starters for a reason. And they're working to be that. And some of them are young and some of them have to develop their skill. It's just the reality of the NFL, and the preseason's a preseason, and it doesn't matter. What matters is September 7th when we go in and we beat the Ravens, even though I said that we might lose to them. But again, I only say that because I have to pick some losses. I can't. If I sat here and said we were going to go 17-0, I would look crazy, and I am crazy, and I do think we are winning the Super Bowl. But there's got to be a loss in there somewhere, and I have to be a little bit level-headed if I'm going to be taken seriously as a Buffalo Bills sports analyst. But when it's time for to cheer for the Bills, yeah, we're winning. And yeah, I would hate to lose to the Ravens. Just I was good with Ravens fans until I went to that game last year, and they were talking all this crap, and they were coming back saying, "Oh, it's in the bag. We won this," and then Butterfingers dropped the ball and we won. It's like, dude, come on, like, and there were some disrespectful Ravens fans, so like, chill out on that. Bills took care of business in their house. Y'all have to prove yourselves. See what happens. All right. Well, that's all I have for this Stray Buffalo podcast. I will be covering the next episode next week of Hard Knocks. Sorry, this was delayed. My birthday was on August 19th, which was Tuesday. So I was celebrating with my girlfriend. But yeah, it's been a good time, and it's a good time to be the Bills fan. Gotta say, I feel like this is our year. I'm excited and I cannot wait. It feels like time is slowing down as we get closer because I just want this damn season to start. So thank you all for listening, and I'll see you on the next Stray Buffalo podcast. Go Bills. Bills Mafia, I love you. Oh, and hold on. Check out this new sweatshirt. Go Bills. Never ranch.